Pregame.com.
I love the wild card round, and that's what we're talking about here. A little bit of Saturday NFL wild card round football. Minnesota taking on Green Bay at Lambeau Field. The Packers laying, about 7.5, 8 in most places. Total sitting right around 46. This will be a free pick from Marco in just a moment. But a lot like Cincinnati's situation for the Minnesota Vikings, they've been in playoff mode for about 4 weeks now. They've had to win out, basically, to get where they are here. And when I look at what happened last week on Sunday when they beat Green Bay 37-34, you had the monster, of course, in Adrian Peterson, who had the great game. But Christian Ponder played probably, Marco, about as well as he could ever expect to play in that game.
Absolutely. I mean, it was an absolute must-win game for the Vikings. Green Bay, they had a reason to play because they were trying to lock down the number 2 spot in the NFC. But you still had the luxury of knowing we're in the playoffs. So it's a little easier free roll for Green Bay, not, all the pressure that Minnesota had, and you hit the nail on the head. Absolute perfect game by Christian Ponder. I thought he would have an opportunity in that game. I was on Minnesota, and I was on Minnesota Big last week, and I got to be honest with you. I'm watching that game the whole time, and I'm watching Adrian Peterson carry this team on his back like he does every single week. But they needed all those plays that Christian Ponder made to still be nip and tuck with Green Bay. Green Bay just wouldn't go away in the game.
Green Bay was making a lot of bonehead-type miscues that they don't normally make.
Right.
On top of it.
So can Minnesota play a perfect game 2 weeks in a row? And now you got to flip the script. They're not playing at home with the crowd, indoors. You're going to Lambeau Field. And it's going to be a little different situation, I think, this week in Green Bay.
One of the things that I remember reading a couple of days before that game, I think it was Friday before Week 17, and Ponder said, this is the game that will define my career, talking about the Week 17 game. Now, I know they want to make it to the playoffs, and they're thinking we got to win this game to get to the postseason. There was a couple of other scenarios where they could have lost and made it. But for a young quarterback who's not that great as it is, to be looking at that game as almost like his Super Bowl, I don't know, Brian. It makes me think that it's tough for him to come back and do it again. We know what we're going to get out of Adrian Peterson, 409 yards on 55 carries in 2 games against Green Bay this year. He's going to be fine. Jared Allen, guys like that, they can play well. But I don't know about Christian Ponder.
I don't know. It may have been a confidence builder. I mean, I haven't watched a whole lot of Vikings games this year, but he normally doesn't throw the ball downfield. Well, he was going downfield last week, and he was having success. That may be something they do this week. Now, Green Bay's defense had an off week, and they're getting a pretty good player back this week in the secondary. Yeah. So it may be a different situation. And plus, you take a look at what Minnesota's done when they've gone on the road, when they haven't played in a dome. It hasn't been that impressive. So it's going to be interesting how this works out. I'm going to play it a little bit differently. I think, you take a look at Green Bay. If my addition is correct, I had them going 28-3 straight up at home the last 31 games. It's in the range right now, 7.5, 8 points, where it'd be a nice teaser play. And there's other games out there to play. And that might be the way to go. And, in fact, teasing NFL playoffs have been very profitable over the years.
Although, don't the limits kind of drop down a little bit from the books? Because
well, that's because they have been very profitable over the years.
Absolutely. So I'm going to point that out. But anyway, as far as this, Marco, this is your free pick. And I just wanted to say this. Minnesota was able to get to Aaron Rodgers both times they played him. 7 sacks now. He's been sacked in the 2 games this year against Minnesota, but he's still 55 for 75, 651 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. They get not only Charles Woodson back, they get also Randall Cobb back this week. Jordy Nelson was a little bit banged up in last week's game. He was going about 75% and was still a thorn in Minnesota's side. I just don't know how, with a full boat, Minnesota, Aaron Rodgers has his full boat this week, how Minnesota is able to come up and even challenge this week. What do you think? By the way, this is your free pick.
All right, well, thanks. All right, yeah. We broke this down for you very well. Brian's right. Green Bay, teaser, outstanding play. I don't see Green Bay losing here. Christian Ponder, back to defining his career. I think his career was defined when he got married to Samantha.
I got no problem with what he did there.
Yeah, okay, so there was a good move there. I think that was the big confidence builder. But he did play a perfect game last week. And the thing is, he did it at home, and he did it kind of playing downhill because they never trailed in that game last week. They jumped out to a 13-0 lead. It's much easier to play at home with a crowd, a lead, and a guy behind you named Adrian Peterson. He's not going to have the crowd, and I think Green Bay jumps out in front in this game with Rodgers, and then you're playing uphill, and I don't think he makes those pressure throws. And he caught the Green Bay secondary off guard, and I thought he would have that opportunity because they would be keying in on Adrian Peterson going for the record.
Sure.
Not going to have that this week. I think this is a great spot for the Green Bay Packers. I'll have the Packers on Sunday. I'll lay the points. I'll also have the Packers in a ton of teasers. If Green Bay loses outright, I won't be hitting the buffets this week.
You mean if Minnesota wins outright?
If Minnesota wins outright, yeah, they'll blow up a lot of teasers.
So the MGM stock will be going down this week.
That's good stuff. He's Marco. He's on Green Bay minus the points, and he's going to tease a little bit. I was going to say something about Ponder and the wife, but I won't. When we come back, we've got the Colts and Ravens as wild card round continues. Stick around for that and more right here at pregame.tv.